Okay, I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Great Island Advisory Committee. It's a special meeting, sorry about that. May 29th at 7:02. And first up is remarks from myself. We've had a super busy week, as you all know, but I have some really exciting news. You know that we have been in talks with the Connecticut Film Office, reached out to us back in, I think it was in January, and we followed up, and then we followed up with a few other tours and other meetings, and I'm really excited to announce that the Lexington Concord, the Battle of Lexington Concord will be filmed on the island, June 17th through the 25th. So it's a series, I think it's a series of 4, and one was George Washington, one is this, and one was the Liberty or Death, the Boston Tea Party. So I think you can watch that one, and the 4th hasn't been written yet. So these are all recreations of famous events. So the filming will take place over a week. There'll be a little bit of prep work ahead of time, and it will be, the island will be, the property will be open as it always is. Filming will be from, you know, the permit is 7 to 7, so there will be limited generators because there won't be a lot of lights. They'll be filming mostly during the daytime. They'll be filming at the stables. They'll be using the tack room and one of the offices. They'll be down by the beach. They'll be in the trails back in there with some exciting scenes. And then there'll be a lot in the main house. So it'll be about, it's a very small budget, and it's about 50 crew and actors. So it's, you know, it's really small. And the parking will be, for the crew, will be off-site. They're looking at a church parking lot. There'll be, I think, 6 trucks on the island during the day, and they'll ferry the actors and the crew back and forth. And if you're interested in seeing more of their work, I think their most famous, or one of their more well-known productions, was The Men Who Built America, and it's on the History Channel.
Oh, those are fantastic. I've seen all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've seen some of them.
Yeah, there's like 5. It's the usual suspects. It's Vanderbilt, Rockefeller, Carnegie. It's the railroads, oil, steel.
Built. Got it. Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Got it. Ed, you're going to be in one of those pretty soon, if you keep going. No? Okay. All right. Let's just teeing that up. So I think this is super exciting. It's a small production, but I think it's a good way for us to get our feet wet and kind of learn how this works and if this is good for us or not. And I'm really excited.
It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well done.
So,
Yeah, nice job.
It'll be interesting to get, after they do the project, to sort of almost exit interview their site coordinators and things, because they'll, you know, discover things and going through their process that might be useful.
Sure, that's a great idea.
Observations or factoids for later on.
Mm-hmm.
Will they be shooting blanks? Got like gun sounds?
I did not ask that.
Because if they are, you just might want to notify some of the neighbors. Just
We are
so that-
notifying the neighbors. They just got an email.
Okay.
I wanted our committee to know first, but the tenants, Bobby, our attorney, sent out an email at 7 o'clock.
Great.
So, any other questions? No? Nobody
great.
wants to be in the movie?
I'm sure,
Small
you know,
crew.
our first selectman, who's a penchant for those historical
Yes, he was.
recreations,
yes.
I expect to see him
Yes,
in
he
a
was-
credited role.
He was excited when I brought this up, so.
But he was.
Yep, so, and he's pretty good at that, so he'll be, even as a walk-on.
Mm-hmm.
Good call for that. Okay, next up is an update from Public Works. We have Ed Gentile to give us the information.
I really should put wheels
wheels on this,
Yeah.
right? I will keep it brief, just some catch-up stuff. The dock gate that we had talked about at the last meeting, we did get a small picture of it. I want you to see what we're kind of looking at, pretty simple. These end gates here, the fencing, they're actually going to be out over the water. So this blue line is what you're going to be looking at, right?
okay.
You're going to see they're going to extend over the wall so that you can't get in. They'll have 2 small panels and a gate on there. I did my best to draw that in so you could see how the wall sections are there. It'll have a keypad on both sides with a combination, and then we'll give that out to the people that need it, the emergency services and any other folks.
That looks
So,
great.
Now, the price tag is $4,900. I wanted to let you know that. But they're going to install this, which means they're going to drill these bottom posts of the gates here and the 2 panels. They'll have to drill them into the concrete and set them so that they can extend those panels out overhanging the wall and the water.
So from that side, it looks really wide.
It
But
does.
then from your other side,
Yeah.
it looks like it only overhangs the actual door opening by about
18 inches on each side.
20% of the door width, or 10, 15% of the door
So
width?
42-inch wide gate, 18-inch panels on each side, and then they go perpendicular towards the water.
That's great. That's a
Okay,
small
that kind of,
footprint.
your concern, valid concern. And we made the design fit that need.
Awesome,
Okay.
thanks.
So Ed, we're thinking we're gonna, that's a long-term solution?
I believe it should be, yeah. We can look at other options for short term, but there's really nothing that I can put out there that doesn't require me putting posts into the ground as a permanent structure
Okay.
for safety reasons. And looking at some of the video over the last 10 days, Tony and I looked at it this morning, and there were some younger kids getting dropped off, some people walking from the island to into the dock, boats coming, picking them up and going out into the water. I think we've got to do our very best now, early in the season right now, to curtail that as quickly as we can.
So what's the timing on this?
I'm gonna, if this is okay, I'm gonna turn them loose somewhere between 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks.
Okay,
From
I
what
think
they told
sooner
me.
rather than later is good. Anyone have any questions on this? No? Okay, go ahead.
The next item we talked about, the chairman and I had spoken about, were porta-johns on the service, so we got some prices. Piggybacked off Parks and Rec, I called their vendor. They're right now, they're charging them $125 per month per unit. And that's just the standard bathroom, or standard porta-john, if you will. We checked on the next step up that's a little bit nicer inside, has multi-purposes for multi-sex, larger toilet paper rolls, a little bit different. It's a little sturdier, looks a little nicer. It's about $185 a month per unit. So we got those 2 prices. I don't know what you folks would like to do from this point on, but that's kind of the direction we took to get some information from you.
Yeah, I asked Ed to look into this. We have, it was one thing when people would park at Pear Tree and there was a bathroom there, and then they would walk, right? Still a long walk, but manageable. But, we're hearing that more people they're not just walking from Pear Tree, and now you're gonna need a beach pass there, or a parking pass, but they're also walking from other areas. So I think one bathroom, right off the path, so where people are staying on the path, but I personally think it's a good idea. And I personally think the nicer bathroom is worth the splurge. And that
Every-
includes cleaning out every month, or every
Yeah.
week?
Well, I think it's service it once a week.
Once a week, okay.
Yeah.
So any thoughts?
Let's do it.
Is it ADA compliant? Do we have to comply
No,
with
it's
that?
not.
It is not. There's a step up into this unit at about 7 inches, 6, 7 inches.
Is it nicer looking on the outside as well?
If you've seen the standard ones you see on construction sites, it's a little sturdier looking, does look a little bit nicer. It still has the same form and the same roof, but they're rounded off. It's molded differently, the outside, so.
Is the upgraded one the one that has like the urinal on the side, on the
Yes.
left side?
It does. It has the multi-use inside,
And it's 100 and what versus 100 and what?
125 to 185.
It's little things, but it has 2 rolls of toilet paper. It's not like if you go to an event, one of those,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
it's not that. It's gray instead of green.
Got it.
But it is a little nicer.
I mean, and it would probably keep it a little bit cleaner as far as, you know, that not everybody is using the sit-down portion of it, so that the men could probably keep the whole place a little cleaner.
But then they have the toilet
Kids.
seat rings too, in this, the nicer one and not the standard one too. So there's that.
Sounds like we should do the nicer one.
Let's splurge.
Okay.
And we're just doing one, right? So,
Well, that was my next question.
Okay.
Do you want one or two?
I think one is good. I
Okay.
think this isn't, you know, this is more of an emergency
Yeah.
as opposed to,
Right.
I have a central location in mind.
By the garage?
Stone garage.
Yeah.
Are you folks okay with that? I'm going to tie this thing down though.
yeah.
They have a tendency to tip over,
Yeah.
sometimes by outside forces.
Really?
Yeah.
Wind.
Wind, kids.
Yeah.
That's a good
If
idea.
you put it in
So
that
let's-
spot, would it have camera coverage? So if someone was vandalizing it, you'd have a chance of seeing who it was?
I have one over in that area, but I could change the direction of the camera to catch that also.
Or add another
That's not
camera.
an unreasonable request. That's
Okay.
easy.
Or add another. And we have a tenant over there, but they're moving out, so this wouldn't be a big impact.
No.
So, okay,
Did-
so,
Before do we have these on other parks? Is this something we've used in other parks? This solution?
we have it at Highland, right?
Highland, we have a porta potty, we built an enclosure
Yeah, I've
around
seen
it,
it,
so
yeah.
it's not as visible. I think that's the only park we have one. Pear Tree, we put one in the winter when the bathrooms are winterized, but once they're open for the season, that leaves, and that's it. I don't think we put them anywhere else.
Laura, do you still have one in the ball field on this over here too? I think there's one in the back. There was in the
Used to
past
be,
couple of years,
yeah.
used to be.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Okay.
And then the,
But makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's needed back there.
I mean, as far as the working bathrooms, I mean, there is a bathroom at the boathouse that's right near the door. So like, if we ever want to consider putting an outside door into that bathroom, like trying to reconfigure it so that, because I don't know what we have planned for the boathouse right now, but doesn't have a renter in it, doesn't have an immediate use, and it has a flushing working bathroom. You know, it's on septic, so
Yeah.
we wouldn't want too many flushes, but
I think this is a good start.
yeah, I think it's a
Then
good
you gotta
start.
do
Yeah.
maintenance and janitorial
Yeah.
services.
Yeah.
I think as you go through the master plan, that's
Yep.
another thing you start talking about, where to put the facilities and
Yeah.
how many.
When your team's on site during the week, can they check it just to make sure that there's supplies and it's nothing
Yeah.
really
No,
going on?
Tony goes through that property every day,
Okay.
Saturdays and
And then you
Sundays.
just call for
and-
maintenance.
Yeah,
You don't
and I,
expect your guys to
no,
deal
I'm
with
just,
it, but
he has no problem. Pull up to it, check on it, make sure if it needs anything, have somebody come and
make
take
sure
care
that,
of it.
you know, you might find that once a week isn't enough for service. So I'm
Right.
concerned about.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
Makes sense.
Okay, next item is, the access driveway status. I did finish the soil borings on site. I had to do additional test holes last Thursday because of the conditions that we did find. Found a lot of fill, gravelly, sandy fill, and they wanted us to dig down until we found the natural soil, which we did. And it's just on that first curve as you come out of the traffic circle and head towards Rings End Road. So we finished those on Thursday, and I got the information to the design engineer for the wall, and we're working on that right now. As soon as I can get that design finished, hopefully within the next 2 weeks or so, get the plans back out on the road and get this thing back out to bid. I have a couple contractors actually calling now. They want to see the plans, so.
So what's the significance of having to drill deeper to hit soil? Does it impact foundation?
If you know anything about retaining walls, their bearing capacity is generally straight down.
Yep.
But failure most of the time is soil that actually kicks out from underneath. So if you're sitting on softer material that'll move, it'll actually, in our tidal wetlands is right below that, will push itself off, right? And they were concerned about that. but we did find natural soil that was firm and hard pan just beneath that, which is really hard soil. We look like we're in good shape for a foundation there.
Thank you.
24 Great Island and Dolphin House, the repairs started last week. They've been sheetrocked, subfloor is in. Had the opportunity to pick out tile for the bathroom, so and they picked out the tub, so we're getting it put back together. It looks like it's probably another 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks before they're finished and out of there. And then finally, we got the signage that was recommended by the PD, most of it. They started putting it up today. Hopefully it'll be completed by Friday. I don't have a target date for the one for Pear Tree. I know Tony and Sandy are still working on a time to put that in.
Okay,
Okay? That's all I have.
that's it? All right, great. Okay, so new business, we are here to also discuss the engagement of a consulting firm to act as, I don't really want to say owner's rep, because that's really more of a construction project term. So I would ask everyone to consider a more appropriate designation for this body. We are specifically looking at Redness and Mead to act in this capacity. And I asked Ed to speak to us about what he thinks Redness and Mead will bring to this project.
Quick intro. Thank you. So we had an opportunity, I'd say maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, to look at the project as a whole and how it was going to work out and who was going to be in charge and how the deliverables were done and so on. My thought was having somebody that could dedicate his time and be the, call it a liaison with the committee and be at every meeting and be at every workshop and come back and interpret some of these things for you as a group to help guide it in the right direction, number one. Number two was making sure that we had somebody that had a technical background, that had a regulatory background, had a background with the town of Darien. And with Craig, I think you find that piece. And I think it was important when we were working on the driveway access. I think he showed his expertise there in getting us through the ARB, the EPC, and planning and zoning. And I think we had like 6 or 7 meetings together, just those groups. And he's well respected. And you can understand why I enjoyed working with him on that piece of project, because it actually went seamlessly. We had a very tight window. In a very short period of time, we had all our things together. I mean, Jeremy had put us together on a schedule, and we hit every one of the milestones. So that said a lot to me about Craig's abilities. Going forward, with any type of project that I do, I'd like to have oversight on the consultant. I make sure that's one of the topics that I cover right out of the gate. Oversight for me is engagement on a regular basis. Making sure that I attend all the meetings, making sure I put together meetings if I think there's a gap and it needs to be filled, keeping the committees that I'm working with or working for up to date on how we're doing. The problem with me doing that in this project is I just don't have the bandwidth to fit it into my schedule. And I don't want this to fail, and I don't want to be the cause of it to fail. So in speaking to the chairman, I was like, this is probably the best spot to bring Craig in right at the beginning and get him started off. Because somewhere down the line, and I had a conversation with Dan today too, somewhere down the line, you may want his services, but you're going to have to get him up to speed. And to do that, you're going to have to bring him back through phase 1 and phase 2. If phase 3 and 4 are the one is where you want his expertise to shine the most. But I honestly think he can actually be an asset at the very beginning also. And in speaking with him, I'm going to give you some of his background, because I don't know if you folks are aware of a lot of things. Some of you know him already. He is a town of Darien resident. He's been working in this town for over 30 years in planning and engineering, not just engineering. For the past 9 years, he's been working with the previous owner and the town of Darien, specifically on a project on Great Island. And definitely in the last 2 years, specifically working in the town of Darien on the purchase of the property, on the purchase of the traffic circle and access driveway. He's been involved with this piece of property for an extended period of time, a whole lot longer than I have. So he has been on the committees of EPC, the Flood Mitigation Advisory Committee, Sustainability Committee, and he's the chairman of the Sewer Commission. Very involved in the government in the town. I think he brings, honestly, I think he brings a lot to the table, just being a resident and being this volunteer. Now, let's talk about the specific needs, and I kind of touched on it already. Dedicating a participant to all of the meetings for this 12-month project, the meetings equal to, there are about 20 meetings you have to attend. And some of them can range from an hour to a workshop that could last 3 or 4. And I think it's important to know that having someone there, consistently having the same person there, gathering the information as you go through this process is important. And I don't think, as volunteers, I don't know how you folks would try to divvy that up, or which one person could possibly do that. And I don't think there's a solution to that piece amongst the committee. Let's briefly touch on the scope. Now, we've talked about, will his services be considered, I don't know, a project manager? I don't think so. I think you touched on whether he could be a advisory, if you will, a project liaison. I don't know. You call him what you want to call him, but I think to be able to have someone of his ability working with the town and working directly for the town, not working directly for the town and the committee, but not working through the consultant. And in speaking with Craig, he felt the same way. He felt his alliance is generally to the person that's paying him or who hires him, let's say. So if we want to have him be as frank and honest and straightforward with us as he goes through, having him on board as a contract with us, I believe is important. I think if he was hired under Reed Hildebrand, his allegiance would be to them. I say allegiance, he'd be obligated to work with them, and maybe there'd be some conflict in being able to present that, what he would think would be a better option, if you will. And I think that's important. I think providing oversight, monitoring the ongoing project tasks, and reporting back to the committee would be his scope. It would be his hard, or 30,000 feet would be his scope of what he would be doing for you. Reviewing the project deliverables, reviewing it with the committee. There's 8 different deliverables, which means they're going to put something together and they're going to put it down, and they may present it, but it'd be Craig's job to actually interpret it for us too, before we get a chance to comment on it. And he'd help us comment on that too, and making sure it's going in the right direction, making sure that we have timelines, making sure we're not scheduling workshops during, during school break, doing things during a holiday week. Those things, they creep up on you, that you don't realize you've done something like that until you get it, it's too late. You've already posted the notices, and you're having a meeting, and it's summer break or spring break, and there's no one around to attend these meetings. That's happened. And I think it's important to make sure there's somebody out there looking for that. Advising the project team on applicable local regulatory process. I think as I mentioned, his expertise is invaluable there. And his company, he has a lot of the data, maps, and plans, utility plans collected for the property in the name of Redness and Mead. And he's, as he said before, and he said again, I'm willing to share that all, interpret it for them, help them, the engineering company, Langen, get further along if they need it. He also mentioned if there's something that they can't do, that they'd like to hire the survey portion of Redness and Mead to do, that's a different project than him, they could do that. And it could be separate inside from what Craig is doing for us. That's a lot from me. I'm sorry if I talked a lot there, but I don't want to misrepresent the fact that I can do this. I wish I could, because this is a great project. But what I've presented in front of you is a gentleman that I know will do exactly what I would do, and, make sure this project is taken down the right path in the next 12 months.
No, I think he's the perfect person for this, job. You have an immense workload as it is, and he has a demonstrated ability to take highly technical matters and explain them also in layman's terms. So this group, or any group he's presenting to, has the ability to synthesize that information and act on it. So I think it's money well and wisely, spent.
You mentioned a lot and all very relevant expertise. What of that is he still operating in an active capacity versus, it will be set aside taking on this role?
You mean, does he have time to do this?
Basically, yeah. I mean, a lot of our consultants we interviewed, what were your other projects you're working on?
Yeah.
So
He indicated to me this would be his priority, one of his priorities. And he made it a priority when we did the roadway access, because he knew what we had to get done in a timely fashion. So he understands that this will be something that he needs to cover himself, and he put his name on as the primary for this. So my interpretation would mean he knows he has to spend the time, and he knows he has to dedicate the time to this project, and he'll be able to do that. Yes.
I totally get the need to have a strong presence from the town who's there sort of soup to nuts in this early phase, and that could help us going forward. I get a little worried when I hear that they're going to be reviewing all publications in advance and interpreting reports and scheduling dates. The latter is pretty good billing rate for somebody, to do kind of administrative work on it. Obviously, final reports and the like, I can see that. I just don't know how broad that's going to be. Is the idea that he's going to see everything and liaise with the consultant, you need to change this before the committee sees it? Or?
No, I don't think that's the proper way to do it, and I don't think Craig does either. I think it's more of, he's going to be working with them as they go, and when they give the deliverables, he's going to be reviewing them with us.
Okay, so it's concurrent.
It's concurrent.
Path.
He's working with the committee. He's working with the committee.
And he's not replacing the committee, right? I will still do everything I always do, and I'm sure you will be at a lot of those meetings with me. But, Craig has the technical expertise that personally I don't have. And he also has the instinct. He knows that, first of all, he'll know that in a meeting, if it's with our community and things are, kind of going one way, he has the ability to steer them back, keep things on track in a really polite, I think, a very engaging way. But he also has the knowledge to say, the cobblestones are really important to this group. We need to address that. So that's something that you want to know earlier in the process rather than later. And that's kind of firsthand knowledge that he has from being in this town and being on so many different committees. He's really familiar with the people that run the committees, and he's very familiar with our residents. And he's very invested. I don't know if you know him. I'm not sure if you, Jeff,
I've
you're
met
pretty,
him.
yeah.
Seen
But
him present.
he's just very invested in this town also, just on a personal level. So it's going to be his name on this, and I'm fully in support of this.
Yep, I've actually engaged with him on the Sustainability Committee, on the Sewer Commission, and then also through some of the public works projects over the years, and everything that Ed describes. His competency, his attentiveness, he listens to the members on different committees, and he's in tune with the community, and knows how to translate techno jargon to language we all understand,
Right.
or more of us understand.
And I agree, we worked with him closely on the pear tree the whole parking lot, and he was in front of the selectmen, what, a month or so ago, explaining, and again, that's very technical, but he's able to bring it down. And I think he's chair of the sewer commission now.
Mhm.
Is there any scenario we could envision where that could be a conflict? I'm not sure there is, I was trying to noodle that through in my mind, I mean, or that's because it's master planning, that's more down the road, so
Yeah.
like if we were putting in sewers or something that they had to opine on, and he was representing the committee, but the committee was applying
Yeah.
for
Do you see that?
something.
In that situation, I've seen him recuse himself
Okay.
and get up and actually leave the room. He's very sensitive to the conflicts of interest if they do pop up. He does a lot of engineering work, or his company does too, for developers here. So when they do come in from the sewer commission, he does get up and leave and recuse himself. So that he is very good about looking at that and making sure it's addressed appropriately.
Is there any more detail on the definition of scope? If the master planning goes another 2 years, what are we actually engaging him for?
That's good. If it goes more than 12 months or it extends almost 2 years, I think you folks may be talking about a different thing than just his contract. 'Cause
Yeah, that would not be good.
Yeah.
No, I understood, I'm just using it as an example, but
Yeah.
like, is he required to be at every meeting, or does he get into that level of detail?
That's the scope he gave us
Yeah.
with his price. And if you look at the numbers, they're inflated a little bit hour-wise, and, it may be less.
Okay.
It may be less. But that's the budget he gave us to try to work with. We gave him the schedule that Hildebrand had put together, and he just went down and counted how many meetings he had to be at and what the administrative effort would be, and tried to put a number in there for us
Okay.
to use.
So there are elements, we did look at his draft proposal, and there are elements in that proposal that we will be taking another look at, right? We're not, there are some points there that we need to fine tune. So tonight, we are simply recommending to the Board of Selectmen that they engage Redness and Mead as a consultant on this.
Not necessarily the terms that were circulated, this was just a
No,
draft.
Yes. Yes. So the question is, do we, do you have any more questions for Ed on this?
No.
Okay, I think everybody shared their thoughts. Do we, what do you think about the term owner's rep? I think that is a little bit misleading, so I'd like your thoughts on what would be a better designation. Project town agent?
Technical
I was
consultant.
gonna say expert consultant, but yeah, either one.
I mean, I don't mind the name owner's rep, I know you guys who have done more construction say that it sounds like a role for construction, but I think, to me, the town of Darien is the owner, and we have 5 elected officials on this committee and 4 resident members, and that's a lot of people. And like Ed just described it, we need to make sure that we're all kept on the same page and that everybody is communicating properly and that we don't miss something important. There's going to be a lot of things happening, and there's going to be a lot of parallel tasks occurring, as they're planning and things. So I think, yes, it's semantics, but I don't mind the name owner's rep. I mean, we're the town of Darien is the owner, and he's representing us, and he's representing us with knowledge, experience, and watchfulness.
If you wanted to make it like a little bit more attenuated, then you could make him the liaison to this committee as opposed to an owner's rep. If he's a liaison to this committee, the committee's not the owner. Anything that the committee recommends has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen and others. So maybe his, relationship, make his direct relationship to this committee makes him not an owner's rep by definition.
Okay, I see the I see the logic there. Jeff, any thoughts on expanding on what Mike said?
Well, I think that, I prefer that to owner's rep just for what's already been discussed. Trying to think of something, not to get into a semantic quagmire, liaison to the committee kind of sounds like we're out there on the org chart somewhere. Ad hoc services, I don't know if that really says it either. So I guess of what we've named so far, the liaison feels pretty good to me. I'm worried if it were called some other sort of technical consultant, someone might say, don't you have a lot of those on the team? And that's, he's offering technical expertise, but that's not the thrust of what we're asking. So I think I talked myself into liaison.
I like liaison. I don't want to preclude him from being able to consult Board of Selectmen or any other committee that ultimately needs a presentation or interpretation or description, like you do, Ed. You float, where do we need, So again, I'm not going to get caught up in semantics, but
So
liaison to this committee, does that shut down? I don't think it does at all.
No, I don't think it does at all.
So he would be the committee liaison? I mean, to borrow a word that you said?
I think he'd be the liaison.
Or just the liaison?
Liaison to the committee.
Okay.
I like that. I see that.
Trying to get the other side of the liaison, so it's the committee between who and who? So it's between Reed Hildebrand and the committee? Or
Yes.
the committee and other town bodies?
No, he's,
If we're paying him, he's our liaison,
He's our liaison, okay.
was, I think, is how
And on the other
that
side,
line would go.
So he'd be the committee liaison to, I'm trying to get the from and to.
okay.
Committee liaison
Liaison
to
to
Reed Hildebrand.
Reed Hildebrand and their consultants, right? They've got a whole cadre of consultants.
Can you broaden it to project? Can you broaden
Right.
it to
I like
committee
that
project
generic.
liaison?
Yeah.
okay.
The GIAC project
GIAC
liaison.
liaison to.
Be careful. They want to-
GIAC project liaison
Project liaison has a good ring to it.
to Reed Hildebrand.
I think it's to whoever needs to be
Yeah.
liaised
Yeah.
with.
Could be others.
Yep.
Yeah, yes.
And he works for us.
Right.
And the most important thing is what Ed said, is what he's going to be doing.
Right.
And I think there's a lot there.
Okay. Great Island Advisory Committee Project Liaison. Okay? All right. So, any other discussion on this?
Do we need a motion, Monica, to
Yes.
make that?
Yeah, so I need a motion to recommend to the Board of Selectmen the engagement of Redness and Mead as the Great Island Advisory Project Liaison.
I'll make that motion.
Mark moves, Mike seconds, all in favor? Unanimous, okay. Okay, that's all we had on the agenda, special meeting, so may I have a motion to adjourn? Mike moves, Jeff seconds, all in favor? Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.